what's up, folks? Jerome back again. I want to give a bit of a progress update on how I've been learning guitar. Today is day 436 of me learning guitar. May 8th, 2018 is the first time I've ever picked up a guitar before in my life. So a little over 14 months learning guitar. I've done several videos in the past, but I wanted to give it, it's been about 3 weeks since the last one I did. So I'll just give a bit of a progress update on where I'm to, what I've been doing for the last few weeks. Before I get into that, I just wanted to say the purpose of these videos is primarily for me, so when I look back in a couple of years' time, to know where I was to learning guitar. If anybody else gets value from that, great. But this is primarily for me to know what I was doing, how far I've progressed, and what I was working on at the time. Just for my own progress over time, so I can look back and see how I've been doing. Last video was end of June. So getting into watching. Well, I've been watching guitar videos and product reviews for a long time since I've been learning guitar. It's probably one of the first things I did. But now I'm starting to get into wanting, I guess it's called GAS, Guitar Gear Acquisition Syndrome. So now there's things that I'm starting to see that I'd like. I've got a little Vox 10-watt Pathfinder amp, practice amp. A few guys at work got the Boss Katana 50-watt amp that is killer, and for $300 Canadian, it's one of the best modeling amps in that price range. So I kind of want to buy that, but I've been the amp that I got is from where I'm to this. The amp is fine, but the Boss Katana for $300 is about 3 times as much as my amp that I got right now. It's got a lot of effects built in, so it's got a 12-inch speaker. Mine has only got probably a 6-inch, so there's a little bit more bass response, and so I kind of want to buy that. To be honest, I'm probably just going to go buy it next week. So I've been doing a lot of blues practice. I've been learning for the last 3 months. I've been taking guitar lessons. I've been focusing on. I went in with the goal of wanting to learn some Stevie Ray Vaughan songs. I think Pride and Joy was the one I want. But given that was probably a little bit too ambitious for where I was to. So there was lots of things to go in and start learning basic pentatonics. Or the extended pentatonic. And so there's other techniques that we need to learn before we get to. And then bending in tune and making sure the bends are in tune. And vibrato and all kinds of other things before we get to the Stevie Ray Vaughan stuff. So I've got a long way to go before you can get there. But while I was learning that, so we're starting to practice Hey Joe. So we're doing, you know. And then that's the little chord progression: C, G, D, and E, C, D, G, A minor, and E, and then eventually solo over top of that. So it's just using the chord progression from Hey Joe and then learning more about soloing over top of that in key V. So we'll do. So stuff like that. So now I'm starting to get into the point where I kind of want to record a simple chord progression so that I can play it back and just record over top. And I don't have a looper pedal. So, back to the GAS, the Gear Acquisition Syndrome. So I just ordered my first pedal I'm kind of scared of that. I ordered a looper pedal. It was a Rony tiny looper for $55 Canadian. The other one that I was gonna buy was the Boss RC1, but that was 130 Canadian on Amazon and was a bit more than I wanted to spend. So the Rowan is probably good enough. Probably could have found a used one, but I don't want to mess around trying to find a used one, so I just ordered it off Amazon. It'll be here in a few weeks. Probably, yeah, in a few weeks. So I'll have that $55, which is pretty good. So there's before I get into the progress, there's one thing that I did on my guitar I'll mention. This is a classic vibe Tele. It's a $500 guitar, but the neck on it used to be a gloss. You can probably see the gloss finish on the headstock. But I was getting fed up with the gloss on the neck. So what I did was took a scouring pad to it. Scouring pad to the neck. Just from here to here. Just to take off the gloss. And then a bit of pure carnauba wax with a microfiber cloth. The neck is way smoother. So any bit of sweat on your hands at all, it doesn't bind up as much. So you can slide pretty quicker. I didn't mind doing it. It's a $500 guitar, and pretty much like the first week I got it, I dropped before I had a guitar strap. You can probably see that there. I dinged my guitar. So in the first couple of weeks, I've already marred the finish. And I love the finish on this. This is the vintage blonde, and I killed it in the first couple of weeks. I didn't want to mess around. I was just going to leave it. I just sanded it down a little bit to take the edge off. My first little mark. There's probably going to be lots of that over time. So I didn't mind taking down the neck a bit. It's a $500 guitar, and it is more for me wanting to play it a little bit better. Anyway, so if you wanted to try it, you can little bit of scouring pad is enough. If you wanted, you can use sandpaper and then a bit of carnauba wax to coat it back where you took the finish off. Before we get into that, there's books. So I'm a bit of a book addict. If you can see, my bookshelf is a bit crazy. So I've been in a habit of buying guitar books. So let's show you a few that I just bought. This one, Speed Strategies for Guitar. More of a sweet picking. It's a little bit too advanced for me where I'm to right now, but I bought it anyway just to start practicing it. Sweet picking is one of those things that you're going to pick up over time, but I wanted to start practicing it now. So I bought this one, started going through that, put it to a metronome. This one, Fluid Soloing, has some arpeggios for lead guitar. So it's one of the things that I've been not practicing is arpeggios. So I've been mostly focusing on pentatonics and the major scales, but I haven't been doing arpeggios. So I wanted a book on arpeggios, so I bought this one. There's another follow-up book. So this is by Tim Quinn, Fluid Soloing. He has another one, Fluid Pentatonics. That's on order from Amazon. I'll have that in a couple of weeks. So that one is more about connecting the pentatonics across the neck instead of just arpeggios. So I mentioned, so say the extended pentatonic. So stuff like that. So being able to take all the 5 pentatonic shapes across the neck in whatever key you're in, and be able to do those kinds of things fluidly. It's one of the things that I want to be able to do. So that's what I've been doing. So I ordered that book. You can never have enough books. I got this book by Troy Stetina, Speed Mechanics for Lead Guitar. It's a bit, again, it's probably one of those books that's over my head right now, but the exercise in it, I'm starting to use some of those exercises now, so that over time I can build it up. this one I'm working through interval studies for lead guitar. What am I going to say about this one? Intervals is one of those musical concepts that on guitar, so when you're playing solos or you're doing whatever, so being able to play stuff in thirds, say for example. So knowing your intervals, so first, major seconds, major thirds, perfect fourths, perfect fifths. So those are the things where I haven't done ear training to be able to sit. So when somebody says you're playing the five of the major chord, what that actually means. So I'm being able to hear those intervals. So I wanted to be able to. Intervals is one of those things where it's training your musical ear. So I wanted to practice that. I've been still working through this book. I've showed this one before, Guitar Fretboard Workbook. So this is more focused on the cage system, where all the roots are to, being able to memorize the neck, that kind of thing. So this is a good book for learning the fretboard. And this book, The Advanced Guitarist, this is in the book they say it's probably enough for 3 lifetimes of learning guitar. So I wanted to work through some of these things. So the very first thing they say is start, and it makes perfect sense. The very first activity they say is start doing the major scale over a single string, for example. Do that for all the strings. So it's another. So that the very first couple of pages in that book talks about learning the major scale across all 6 strings. So that's another way of learning the notes on the neck. So there's all kinds of advanced things you can think about how to learn guitar in that book. So that's one of the books that was recommended the most. So again, I got a stack of books. Oh, I can barely lift them. So depending on, so I got lots of practice material to draw from. Man, oh man, dropping everything. So lots of practice material. Depending on what I want to focus on at a particular time, and I'd like to have the books on hand so I don't have to go messing around and trying to find them. Instead of going online looking for tabs, the books are full of tabs. So I like to have just books on hand so I can pull out an exercise and go through it. Like I said, so we're on 436 days into learning guitar, so a little over 14 months. My progress. So I can play a few simple songs like G, C, and D. Or, you know. That kind of stuff, or even something with a little bit of barre chords mixed in with open chords. So some stuff with like the B7 chord. B7 was one of the hardest chords for me to learn. I found the B7 was harder to even learn barre chords. I messed that up, but you get the point. So I've been playing. So that's basically learning those kinds of chords and being those chord progressions took me I would say the first 11 months has been following along just in guitar and learning a basic rhythm guitar, going through the Justin Guitar's beginner course, so stuff like. So barre chords, stuff. So I can know, or even just the hendrix chord, E7 sharp 9, and stuff, moving the triads up the neck. First string root triads. And then G string rooted. This one. So a little bit of chords up the neck. That's one of the other things that I want to be able to do. Say. Concept of being able to move chords up the neck, be able to play more chords up the neck other than just barre chords. So say like the A root barre chord, major barre chord. So that's pretty much. So other than so what have I done? Open position chords, chord progressions, strumming patterns, some simple songs, barre chords, so 6-string rooted barre chords, E shape, A string rooted barre chords, and then I guess even the minor one. and then being able to mix barre chords in with open chords. Anyway, so I've got the chord transitions down, open chords and barre chords. I want to be able to learn some more chords up and down the neck, so I've got the major 7 chords. That kind of stuff. So open chords, some of the 7th chords, and then what I've been focused on lately has been being able to move up and down the neck in each of the, so be able to land in one of the scale, one of the patterns. So the extended one. So that's what. So the next, I guess my goals next are is more focused around lead guitar stuff. So. So my goal, I guess, next goals are to be able to do soloing over blues progressions, more focus on blues improv. So being able to move up and down the neck, knowing all the positions, basically being able to move around the neck fluently and smoothly, and being able to solo. Hammer-ons, pull-offs, all lead guitar stuff has been my main focus, because I want to be able to get into learning some Stevie Ray Vaughan stuff, but there's a lot of stuff for me to work on until then. So I've been working on, to say something, let's put it on bridge. So that kind of stuff is what I've been focusing on lately, and being able to do. I've been practicing the intro to one. So that's been my progress for the last 14 months. Am I happy with it? This is a question I've asked myself for a while. So on one hand, 14 months ago, never picked up a guitar in my life. And now I can play a couple simple songs. So I can play a few simple chord progressions. I can play barre chords. Been practicing some lead stuff so I can move. I know the pentatonic scales, major scales up and down the neck, but I don't. Still not great at hammer-ons, pull-offs. You know, all the phrasing, we'll say, of making solos sound good. So I still got a long way to go on that, and knowing positions up and down the neck. A long way to go on that. Knowing the fretboard in and out, so I don't even have to think about it. It's just muscle memory. Learning licks and solos, I found a little bit takes a long time. That I basically got to drill it. Basically, look at the tab, and it takes me weeks to learn a simple progression. So, I don't know if that's a sign of learning guitar after age of 40. But it takes 14 months. For 14 months at learning guitar at the age of 40, I'm happy with my progress so far. I practice, so I've been playing 436 days. I have not missed a single day of practice. So, regardless of the output of how well I'm progressing, I'm still putting the input in every day, practicing every day. One thing I'd probably want to do is make sure that I'm practicing the right things every day. I'm getting into the habit of just practicing the pentatonic. Or just a major scale and thirds. So I'm getting fairly decent at playing the scales up and down and in thirds, but my soloing is still garbage, and hammer-ons and pull-offs and being able to bend in tune and unwanted string noises and occasionally hitting the wrong string. So, I'm happy with it. I probably could have had a better practice routine and more rigorous with metronome and learn more songs. So I know about a dozen songs, I guess, and a few minor guitar, licks here and there. But I all in all, I can't say I'm if I hadn't picked up a guitar, I would never be where I'm to right now. So I'm okay. I'm okay with my progress so far. It's not the greatest progress, I guess. I'm sure there's people that have started at my age that are better than where I'm to. But then again, there's probably people that aren't, that haven't put in as much effort. So that's that. I don't know. End it there. That's 30 minutes. If you made it this far, I'm probably droning on far too long. But that's where I'm to. So my goals are to be able to, or really want to be able to do, is be able to sit in on a jam with people and be able to just figure out, given a key, and we just start creating solos and rhythms, and then just trading back and forth. Be able to do that blues improv. I want to be able to learn, like I've learned a little bit of the one intro. Being able to learn that whole thing. I mean, there's people that have been playing 10 years that can't play the whole thing. So I don't know how close I'm going to get to it, being able to play the full solo. But a couple of maybe there's some simpler solos I could probably stick with and learn that are easier than that one. Some slow blues solos or some just slow blues improv will probably be okay. And from there we can bump up the tempo. So one is probably a bit too aggressive for my skills, but still, it's good to have as a long-term goal. And then this gear acquisition syndrome. My Tele, I love this guitar, but I've been looking at 24 fret guitars, some Ibanez, Jacksons, Steve Vai, the Gem, I completely don't need it, but there's other guitars, the ES335, Les Pauls. I kind of gotta not want them until I can learn how to play this thing. This is more than enough guitar for where I'm to. I don't need anything else. My little Vox Pathfinder amp is more than enough. But my next purchase will probably be the Boss Katana. I'm absolutely sure I'm gonna buy it. But I'm not buying any more guitars. I got enough guitar now to get me to where I guess to get better guitar. This is enough guitar for right now. I guess I'm gonna hang off buying any more guitars until I get significantly better. This one is enough. This is still a learning guitar, even though it's been 14 months. I still consider myself a beginner. I don't know how far you get before you say you're not a beginner. But anyway, we'll call it there. We'll see you next time. Thanks.